Hi, y'all. Welcome
Hi,
back to the podcast with no name. I am Ebony,
Paris.
and this is Ari, a real discussion. Today, this is video 4
Mhm.
to Who Moved My Cheese? And we are starting on page 35. Can
Very
you,
fun.
we only got through 2 pages in the last 40-minute video.
Sometimes.
Well, we're doing a deep dive. We have an overview of this book on YouTube already. So this is our deep dive.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna start at the top of 35. It says, because cheese was important to them, the two little people spent a long time trying to decide what to do. All they could think of was to keep looking around Cheese List Station C to see if their cheese was really gone. While Sniff and Scary had quickly moved on, Him and Hall continued to hem and haul. They ran it and raved at the injustice of it all.
Hmm.
Paul started to get depressed. What would happen if the cheese wasn't there tomorrow? He made future plans based on this cheese. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna press
Yeah.
pause. Okay, and here's why I'm gonna press pause. Because people say to me all the time, they like, oh, you're an entrepreneur. Listen, so for the most part, I tend to keep me some sort of like side hustle, part-time something, okay. So if people be like, oh, what you do, I always tell them first off, like I teach stress management, I'm an entrepreneur, I own a company, we've been around for me. Oh, I just say I'm, stress management. I teach stress management. I'm a wellness solopreneur or I'm a wellnesspreneur. Okay. Teach stress management. And maybe I'll say what my part-time job is, or, I raise funds for the hungry as my part-time, gig. And they will be like, oh, so tell me more about that. And it's like, people really in their mind think that it is less risky to be an employee than an entrepreneur. And my mind just cannot understand. Maybe just because it's the type of integrity that I practice, that I know it is no way that when you practice integrity, you can think getting a paycheck is more safe and secure and stable than working on your own.
Okay. What do you mean?
I just mean,
Integrity. You mean because you work harder for yourself?
no, I mean, I set certain values in life that, certain standards or principles in life that I value. And so, in following what I value and practicing what I value, I don't compromise my integrity. Like, for instance, I don't believe that there's something that you can do at work that you're not supposed to do in life, right? They'll go, oh, I made this move and I didn't, I wasn't visible or open or transparent with you, but it's just business.
Mm.
I don't For me, I value openness, integrity, transparency. That means in every aspect of my life, right? So at work, if a job is requiring me to go against any of those things, I'm going to practice integrity and remove myself from the situation.
Mm.
And so
Understood.
for me, it's like working as an employee was never safer. It wasn't a safer option for me because I'm not going to do things that are against what I value in order to make money. It's just not what I'm going to do.
I understand that, but what about in the aspect of something simpler, like retail or something, where maybe you wouldn't encounter that as often? There's a certain security, I imagine, in working for Target because Target's a huge corporation. So you expect that you're going to get a paycheck for the work that you do.
Well, it depends on what you're considering, like what's the marker? If your marker is just getting the paycheck, then anything to do. But we just talked about in the last video, that's not the marker now. Our marker tend to be like well-being, if I enjoy it, if I get a chance to grow, if I get a chance to develop it. So it just depends on, your marker. For me, I'm not staying, and this is just, to me, the problem is regardless of what type of job you work at, because most of the time you work with people. And I've worked a lot of retail jobs since 12. And what I realize is even in those retail jobs, you have a lot of people who do not manage themselves well and are not control over their lives. So they utilize the position to, boss other people around, to, flex on other people, to make the work experience miserable. They don't necessarily manage well. And sometimes it's not even on purpose. They just really don't have the solutions to be a good manager. They haven't studied it. They're not really promoting the right people. So it's not even really like in corporate, it's all jobs, because you have to deal with people. And if people are not setting their own values, living up to their own values. And if they're compromising their integrity for a check, it will always create, for me, problems, because I'm not just doing this for money. Although you may go to a level or do something that I would never even get close to doing, just because I set my own values and I practice integrity, and I will walk away from anything or anybody. So as an entrepreneur, it's more so trusting in what I value, and having strong values will bring me what I need, as opposed to compromising those values or selling them, to have cheese, to make money, that type of thing.
Understood. Understood. And I would hope that, I know that most people consider only the extremes, right? Most people would consider like, hey, I'm not going to do something really egregious for money. But sometimes, like you're saying, it's the small things of where you give away integrity in your job that you go, oh, okay. Because to me, I know like some things is like people come in and I'm like, oh, like, do you have a coupon? They're like, no, and I'm like, I have a coupon. I'll just take it out the trash. And they're like, well, you're not supposed to do that. And I'm like, if you could have it for cheaper, you wouldn't offer a coupon on it if there wasn't, you wouldn't still make a profit. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of the times it's like when you go to the store and they're finally selling something for like 10 cents, 25 cents. The point of it being is that they're just going to get their money back. They're not losing any money and selling it to you like that to get rid of it. Very rarely are they going to do that. If anything, they'll mark it down just to get their money back, because they usually pay pennies on the dollars for whatever they sell it to us for, most big corporations. So the same thing is, it's like that. It's just like sometimes they're like, hey, you don't want to offer people that. And I'm just like, I would like it if somebody was like, hey, there's a coupon. I'm like, oh, I don't have it. And they're like, I do. Here you go. Swoop. And so sometimes it's like something about that. And they're like, no, don't do that. And I'm like, but if it was you, wouldn't you really like that? And they were like, yes. I'm like,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Hoarding the power. That's what I'm saying. And people abuse it. I don't like that. So for me, you got about 3 or 4 times of trying to impose something like that on me, like different variations of that. And I'm finding a new place of employment. For me, it's easier to be an entrepreneur than an employee.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I already know, like, I haven't been employed in a while, but I already know that, like, I'm going to be the best first employee because I'm like, people are going to like me. I'm personable. I'm willing to help, whatever. At the same time, I'm like, I can be my own boss. And so I don't need to be here. So if there's something I don't want to do and I don't agree with, I'm just not going to do it.
Right.
Especially I'm like, hey, you hired me to work the front line. They're like, can you go clean the bathroom? I'm like, no. And I would walk away. And they were like, you're not gonna clean the bathroom? No, I'm not. Now, if I went to the bathroom and it was disgusting, I'm like, man, this is whatever. I might call you and be like, hey, I'm not working the front line because this bathroom is gross. And I know nobody's in here. So I'm gonna clean this bathroom because I gotta use the thing. And so since I'm gonna use the thing, I'm gonna use your money, your time that you spent me, whatever, to sit here and clean and take my time or whatever. Don't come in here. And when I'm in here, anybody makes a mess, I'm gonna fuss at every single one of y'all. who come in here and do something, and then I'm gonna yell at y'all to go clean it up once I've done it. But that's a choice that I've made for myself. But I like you absolutely can't tell me like, hey, go clean the bathroom. I'm like that. I don't remember being hired as a janitor. I'm not gonna do that. And I'm like, I'm just the best worst employee. And they're like, oh, well, like, can you handle this? Or like, if it's something like above my pay grade, like, can you handle this project? Nope. When 5 o'clock come, I'm like, bye. I'm
See?
not
And a
over
lot
about
of
it.
people will do, they will not say no. They will stay late. They will do whatever it takes to make the cheese. And people like me don't thrive well around what I call a bunch of conformists. I don't thrive well. It feel like my soul is being sucked away, drained out. I can't do it.
To me, I'm just easy. So a lot of times you're like, hey, so and so's a little bit late. Like, can you stay? And I'm like, yeah, I don't have anything to do. What's going on? But if I do have something to do, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, I'm going to be like, no. And they say, well, we don't have anybody to cover. I said, that's why you're the manager. That's your problem, not my problem. And I've been the manager a lot of times. And I know that's been my problem. So and that's why I don't want to be the manager, because I don't want that to be my problem. Because I want to be like, nope, I'm an underling. Bye. Like, I'm leaving. But again, I know that I can say that in a unique perspective because like I'm older, I have financial security in that I'm married. I can make my own money with some of my own business a little bit here and there. I'm not in here bringing in thousands of dollars yet. I'm saying, every time I'm bringing in hundreds of dollars when I, set my things up. I'm waiting for them thousands of dollars every time I set my things up. But I know that I speak from a very unique perspective in that I can go into like some place like that and I'd be like, yeah, I need this money. I don't. But at the same time, I'm also in the place of like, I'm just old now. I can't be out here breaking my neck, my back, or any type of emotional abuse or mental instability for no money. I just can't do it. I'm too old now to be like, yes, sir, I'm gonna do that, sir. I can't do it.
I never did that. I can't. It's just not in my spirit. It's not in my spirit. I can't do it. Yeah, that's why I just think it's wild when people say that they think that they can make future plans based on cheese. It's like, is
I
this
mean, but I
unlimited cheese?
no, but I think like when you think that you have job stability and you go,
What is
well,
that? What is that?
people soon to have job stability, and so they say, well, I'm going to plan, a reno. I'm going to start renovating my house because I expect that I will still have this job until it's on time, and I'm gonna.
But not nobody like I don't understand. Okay, so this whole book is about change. I just don't understand. And again, I know this has everything to do with pathologies and how people were raised and what they submit to, but it's like everything around you change. You
Mhm.
really think you're supposed to do the same job for 30, 40 years.
I think in this day and age, absolutely not. But I think thinking that, hey, I'll have
Never.
the same job in 3 or 6 months, so
Huh?
I say I don't think so, but I do think thinking that, hey, I am gonna have the same job in 3 or 6 months, so I'm gonna plan this vacation in the next 2 months makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, definitely that. But I, for me, it's just maybe also because I've been in business classes since like high school, so I always understand like business change. You think you save, even the entrepreneur is going one way and then out of nowhere it go you just left and it's just never foreseen. And so it's like, and knowing that I never felt it to be something stable. The only way, like, first of all, living is not stable. Like, that's the first illusion. Living is not stable. It is no safeguard for anything. For me, obviously the safeguard is to align what is natural, and what is natural is change. So once you wrap your head around things are supposed to change, then you feel less stress when things do change. So it's just very odd that someone goes, okay, I'm going to plan the next 30 years on the stability of this job. So I'm going to go and get this car. I mean, this house. And I'm also going to add a car and then also like children. And then I plan on being able to save from this job as well and travel. And it's like, whoa, you're asking for a lot for this one job. And today you're planning 30 years ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Like that to me is just very interesting.
Yeah, and I'll also say like this is not to speak against like buying your house or buying your job, but it's just about the mindset or the perspective of it because you can absolutely buy that house and but if you're in the mindset of they're like, hey, something happens, I'm going to sell my house, I have some equity in it, then you're fine. It's for the people who go, something happens, they go, well, what about my house? And I don't know what to do. You go, sell your house. You can't afford it anymore.
I've always lived here.
Yeah. So you can now
My
sell your house.
family had this house for generations.
Yeah. So and
That's
I
what I'm
mean, like,
saying.
understand like the emotional value to it. And again, I think that might be putting some, security on it because maybe like I wanted to pass it down to my children. They have some love. Like, yeah, sure. But if you can't afford it and you lose it in foreclosure, you still can't give it to your children. And maybe you losing security for yourself, especially as a parent, is losing security for your children, no matter if they're grown or not. Because your children are your children. So yeah, absolutely. So it's not about saying, hey, don't buy a house and don't buy a new car or whatever. It's just understanding that things can change and you can change with it. Just because you have a house now doesn't mean you always have to have a house.
Yes, but also I agree with everything you just saying. My perspective is that plus what I'm saying is why do you have more faith in other people than you do yourself? Why do you have faith in the entrepreneur who started this business or the CEO who run the business or the board who make the decisions more than you have in yourself? Even if you decide to be an employee, why do you have to be the same employee at this job for 30 years? You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like what I'm saying is align yourself with what's natural, and what is natural is change. So even if you're going to be an employee, change. It can't be, I got this job, I'm stable, so I can get a house. It's like, oh, I have the skill set that I need to make money, so I could trust that I can always make money and I can invest in this house. You see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's the mindset behind it, because if you're only staking it on this one particular thing, when your cheese is gone, then now you don't know how to maneuver and how to move, because it's not about the skills. Because one of the skills you should have is adaptability, is flexibility, is learning, change management, how to go with the flow and, rebuild. And so I just think it's very interesting to think like something, it's diluted anyway to think that you have any security outside of what you think. What you think is the only thing that can provide you real security.
That makes me think this is a complete tangent, but I'm thinking of one business who did that like for us who frequented that business, we really hated, right? The environment that this business had was changing and they weren't going to survive with the same business model that they had. So they evolved and on some level it's nice, but also on another level you're like, this place sucks. If you're a person. And the particular business I'm thinking about is Barnes and Noble, right? So Barnes and Noble was a bookstore. Remember, we used to have borders and all that stuff. And before, when you went to these big bookstores, they would have areas for you to sit down. You could peruse the books. It was kind of quiet. Of course, you had a cafe section where you could buy like food and stuff, and you could sit and read your books. They had like these magazine sections and stuff, right?
Uh-huh.
And other bookstores, they didn't evolve out of that because Amazon. Remember when Amazon first started? For those of us who are old, Amazon was selling books. And
Books.
I remember there was this whole big thing, it's like, don't buy your books from Amazon, support your local bookstore, they're gonna put it out of business, blah blah blah. And you go, yeah, that's great, but on Amazon you can go find a book you need, click, and it'll be delivered to your home, and it might be cheap.
And they
And
didn't pay, you didn't pay taxes too back then.
back then, right?
Mhm.
And so Amazon is what initially put stores like Borders and stuff like that out of business. But Barnes and Noble started to sell paraphernalia for your favorite, little like Harry Potter. They have a lot of Harry Potter paraphernalia. And now they sell like toys. They got a lot of Lego sets. So the really fancy Lego sets are there. They started selling the really fancy journals, which I like the little $30, $40 journals, the crazy pens. I'm not paying $30, $40 for a journal unless it's something real special. Um, the pens and the agenda, like the agendas, the planners, the bookmarks and stuff like that. When it used to just kind of be a bookstore that had books and they had areas for you to sit down and read your books and kind of relax. But they've evolved. And so now you're like, okay, cool. You still have books so you can go into the section, but now you're weaving through this whole Lego section, you're weaving through this whole toy section and stuff. And while it can be cool, you're also just like, there's nowhere to sit and be like, hey, I want a chance to sit down and look at this book. Not that I will admit that I was a person that like I didn't have any money. So I used to go to Borders on my time off and I would read a whole book for free. But not that you want to do that, but sometimes you want to take a moment to sit down and maybe a book that you were interested, you want to kind of peruse a couple of the chapters to see if you want to do that. And you can't do that now. It's so busy and it's so loud. But the company had to evolve and change in order to survive in the economy and the changing dynamic that came with Amazon and online sales and stuff like that. It wasn't going to survive as just a bookstore anymore. And other places were just going to be a bookstore. They weren't changing. And so now they're gone. And literally except for Books a Million, but they're kind of the same thing. The only really big bookstore we have now is Barnes and Noble and Books a Million. And then you get lucky with some of your small local bookstores. So I think, absolutely, it's like what you're saying is like not taking that security and relying on this and that, whatever. Because Barnes and Noble absolutely could have relied on his lawyers to be like, we're one of the biggest bookstores, we're national, and we've always been who we've been, and people come in. So you either dig it or you don't. Like, it's going to be what it is. They could have raised the prices of their books. They could have did a smaller, employees, whatever, just to keep it and not change what they want to do. But they did evolve their business and what you're saying. And so it goes, hey, if a big business can do this to keep themselves, profitable, as you as an employee, like, why aren't you doing the same thing? Like, why aren't you evolving and changing? But I do feel like in this day and age, especially with millennials and younger generations, we're not doing that. I don't feel like we're staying in the place for a long time because after a while, you go like, hey, this place is boring or it's not suiting me, or like you said, there's a problem with the integrity, or I don't like the management. And so why can't I go somewhere doing the same job, possibly paying more or a better work environment than staying here? I don't have to stay here because again, there's no need for survival and I've already had the quality of life and there's other opportunities. So I'm going to move on.
Mm, mm, mm. Okay. Ooh,
I'm outside in the summer.
I
In
see,
the
girl. That's why you got on all that white. All right.
Yeah.
So it says, the little people could not believe it. How could this have happened? No one had warned them. It wasn't right. It was not the way things were supposed to be. That's who. Him and Hall went home that night hungry and discouraged. But before they left, Hall wrote on the wall.
What he right? Uh, the more important your cheese is to you, the more you want to hold on to it. Yeah.
The next day, him and Hall left their homes and returned to Cheese Station C again, where they still expected somehow to find their cheese. Now it turned from the cheese to their cheese. The situation hadn't changed. The cheese was no longer there. The little people didn't know what to do. Him and Hall just stood there, immobilized like two statues. Paul shut his eyes as tight as he could and put his hand over his ears. He just wanted to block out everything. He didn't want to know that the cheese supply had gradually been getting smaller. He believed it was moved all of a sudden.
Okay. Sorry.
Him analyzed the situation over and over, and eventually his complicated brain with huge belief systems took over. Why did they do this to me? He demanded. Ooh.
He said, say it again.
Him analyzed the situation over and over, and eventually his complicated brain with its huge belief systems took hold. Why did they do this to me? Hmm.
That is so,
Now,
that
this
is so,
is, huh?
his brain, with all his complicated beliefs, led him to say, what, wow, he gave the blame to someone else.
Right, which is what we always tend to do, which is the whole point of this book. You know, it starts off with like the people going to a reunion and they sit down and they're like, "Oh, how's life?" And they're like, "Oh," and then he breaks into the story like, it's the world doing it to me. And you know, I have a conversation daily about this black on black on black on black topic about this, is because a lot of us, we practice victimhood and we don't even realize like we're being victims or martyrs. And it's like, well, why are they doing this to me? And it's like, oh, cool, 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 cool. Let's say they are doing that, but what you doing? Like,
Right.
either what are you doing to contribute to that? What are you doing to allow that? Or what are you doing to combat that? Those are the three questions.
Yeah.
If you don't have an answer to any of those, then you participate in. That's why they say if you're not part of the solution, you part of the problem. So I'm very confused how you come to the conclusion of why they doing this to you. So is this the first time your cheese move? Do everybody cheese move, but it's you? Like, so all of us going through these issues, but they doing it to you. Got it. Okay.
Good point. And again, it's like immediately you're the victim. No accountability whatsoever. And that's easier, right? It's easier.
Yeah, and it's human nature because like we already have a hard time building self-esteem, self-worth, self-value about ourselves. We don't, it's hard to take on something else that's saying or that's pointing to you are the problem, you did it, maybe it's you, right? So it's hard for people to go, okay, well, what did I do to like, all right, I did something like already I don't feel good about myself, and that's gonna make me feel a little bit, less if I have to go, dang, well, I couldn't even put my own cheese or secure my own cheese, and now I'm relying on somebody else. Your self esteem suffers.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, most of us won't immediately take accountability and review it, but some of us will eventually get there. Some of us will not. But I think it's also like, if you consider it like very human and also like very funny, because they were like, hey, the cheese not here. And they just kept looking like, well, it's got to be somewhere. Like, where is it at? And if I even wasn't there, like, yo. So they go, okay, 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 okay. Go home, we'll come back tomorrow. And it just made me think about like when you're hungry, you keep looking in the refrigerator because you just know like some gonna magically appear, some apparition is gonna be there. And you go like, no. And the truth of the matter, it's like, why do you like everybody does that? And it's like, why do you do that? And it's not necessarily that you think something's gonna magically appear. You hope so, but you're hoping that you just overlook something because in your brain something has to be there. Something you want to eat has to be there. You just overlooking it. And maybe the third time you'll finally get that inspiration or see like, oh, I got parts for a sandwich. Like, let me make a sandwich. So I just think like, yeah, it just makes me think about that. Like, yeah, very common, very human to go back. And so I'm saying like, how often do we really like come to the space or understanding immediately that like it's gone? And so I mean, like, there are certain situations, but I'm like, or is that really just delusional? I don't know. Because again, I think about that refrigerator thing. But if I think about something big, like, of course, our main correlation to cheese is money. And I go, hey, all that money is gone. And I'm like, I just had it. Like, where did it go? And like, say if I had $10,000 and I'm slowly spending it, spending it, spending it, right? Because I'm like, I got all this money, but I'm never checking the bank account.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I go to buy something, it's like declined. And you're like, huh? You're like, hold on, I got $10,000. And you go, no, you had $10,000 a month ago, but you've been spending that money. You've been out partying with your friends, being like, lunch is on me, right? That's what they're doing, this and that, whatever. Now, checking your account, realizing that $10,000 been gone and whatever. And so then I think about it, like if you're that type of person, you finally check your account and you're like, this money is gone. So what do? You start going through all your transactions, right? Trying to add it up, trying to figure it out. Because why? There has to be something wrong. It
Yeah.
really has to be. It was miscalculated. They overcharged you for something. You know you didn't spend that 10,000 like that, right? There somewhere. And so you keep going over it and you like okay, let me go back to the beginning. Let me go back to the beginning when it's deposit. You write it down, you start subtracting, until finally it comes, you go, man, I was just living because the money, because to you, the money was there. You had got this stack, whatever, and the money was there. And you was living your life, not worried about it. You was out there chilling, having lunch, going out, this and that, whatever. Wasn't worried about gas. Like, yeah, I drive to you. I go to gas. That tank up. Wasn't looking at the numbers or nothing. Just was waiting for that click, and you just put it back up. It was gonna be what it was.
And I
And
think the twisted, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm listening.
I think the twisted part about this for me is because primarily I'm a sniff. So the bad part is like I see it coming, but I'm not a sniff when it comes to like moving on quickly. Like I see it come. I want people to like, oh, it's coming. Like, but it's coming. Like, oh, but it's getting close. But like, it's getting close. Oh my god! And it's like, I see it. I saw it before anybody seen it. But it's like it have to hit, and then I have to take that shock for a second and be like, okay, okay, all right. Now let's go. So it's kind of twisted because when you look at the characters, it's like you got the sniff, you got the scary, and they are preventative. They look ahead, but then they're also in because they're in it. When things change, they instantly just go like and just change. Whereas I have the instinct part where I'm looking and I see it and I see it, but when it hits, it still take me a second to like accept it,
Mm.
like embrace it and be like, okay, okay, now it's time to move. It's kind of twisted. It's like human beings really are sadistic because if you see a punch coming, you should probably move out the way. But I'm like,
Mm.
oh, is this really gonna happen? Oh, over like it's close like this. Like,
I'm the opposite. Like I've been looking at the bank account the whole time, but at the same time, every now and then I've been like bleep bleep. But I remember the really big purchase, but I forgot like, oh, I might have spent like a little $10 here and there like 5 times. So when I go and I'm like, yo, where'd $50 go? I'm a little $50 short, but I do see it like coming. So when it happened, I'm like, that money's gone, and I move on. So I will be like a little slow with some of this stuff because I'm gonna remember the really big things, right? You don't remember paying your rent, you don't remember doing this and that, whatever. I'm gonna take that down. But I might have forgot that. Like I went through like Jack in the Box real quick. So there'll be like little things that coming. So that's how I'll be surprised. I'll be like, oh, how's it gone already? Oh, I see it now. And I'll be like, okay, well, it is what it is. Can't do it nothing. So I'm like, yeah, I'm like in that aspect, me and you, we've been seeing it going. We've been seeing it going. And you were like, ooh, 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 ooh. And then when we show up, people like, oh, oh. And I be like, I thought it was gonna be a little piece here. And I'm like, come on, we gotta go. We gotta move on, kid. Like it's done.
and I'm still like, but uh,
And you see start from here, 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 here. And you say, ooh, ooh. And Like you're the type of person like every day is down a little bit, but you're like, oh, okay, it's not as down as far as I thought it was gonna be. Okay, okay. That's you. So when you finally go, you like, dang, I thought it was like I knew it was coming, but I thought today I didn't think today was gonna
Yeah,
be the day.
that's me. Do it. But like I ain't know it.
So today was gonna be it. Like you walk in and you like, oh, it's gone. It's like, yeah, you used it all yesterday.
Oh.
Mhm.
Okay, let's see if we can. Should we stop here? Is that a clean break? Because we have 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's a clean break right here. So what was the last part? So he said, why is this happening to me?
Yes.
Why
What's
did they do
really going on here? What's
that?
really going on here? What's going here was the process that was always going on, which is something was happening without your control. You stumbled on it, tried to take ownership, and when it kept doing it like itself, and now you can't have access and it doesn't benefit you anymore, then now it's all about you. Somebody did something to you. You don't understand why is it happening. How come you didn't ask why was it happening when you stumbled upon cheese? You didn't walk into the room and say, all of these cheese, this is good cheese.
Yeah.
You
So you,
didn't ask those questions when you stumbled upon the
like
cheese.
I said, when I stumble upon that bag of $50,000, I'll be like, thank you. And when it's gone, I'll be like, oh well. I ain't gonna take no. Be like, no, well, why to me? I'm just be like, look, I already looked up on it in the first place. When it was
Hmm.
gone, I'm gonna be a little him and haw, be like, hey, got $50,000. I might take you to lunch. I might fill up my gas tank unbeknownst to what the
Oh,
purse
so you
was.
got a month, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I told somebody the other day, I said $50,000. I said, give me 30 minutes. Give me 30 minutes, that money will be gone.
30 minutes?
It depending on how fast my internet working. Heck yeah. I'm gonna pay some
Listen,
bills. Look, cause I'm gonna just be like, if someone say, hey, you had to spend $50,000, like what's the shortest amount of time you think you spend $50,000? I'm like, give me 30 minutes. I'm gonna pay some depending on how fast my internet works. I'm gonna pay some bills, some money, because I mean, technically, you can spend it by putting it into your Fidelity account, your Roth IRA, you know. So I'm be like, cool. I'm put it easy, 35,000 over there, gone in less than a minute. And now I got 15,000 to figure out what to do with. By the time I pay bills, I might call somebody like you, be like, hey, you want me to pay your car real quick? Shorty, I got you. You need to pay rent, easy. Even if I don't put it away, I be like, yo, I be calling up people like, what's your rent? I'm about to send you money right now, right now, right now.
you
I don't even
cash
know.
apping everybody. I don't got cash app anymore, so if he's stuck there.
I might do it like through Facebook. I'm like, yo, I'm like, yeah, keep it under $600. I'm gonna send you $599 right now. Hurry up! I'm like, Abby, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Log into your leasing company. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up.
I don't know how to do that. I don't pay no damn bills. I don't know how to do that.
That's terrible. You at least know the login code. What if something happened to guard? Can't even pay your rent. You don't know how to log in.
That's another story for another day. So this has been the podcast. This is
Appreciate
R.
that rich
Huh?
life. That's that rich life. I like it. Say something happened, I wouldn't even know how to pay my rent. I don't pay no bills. I like it. That's what's up. That's cool. That's aspirational. I like that. Go ahead, girl.
This has been the R, the real discussion. I'm Ebony. And we'll see you in part 5. Bye. Peace.